The devastating diagnosis came like a thunderbolt from a clear sky, but the real betrayal was still to come. At 28, Melissa had just learned she had Huntington's disease, a cruel, degenerative illness that would slowly rob her of her motor skills, cognitive abilities, and eventually her life. There was no cure, no hope of recovery, only the grim certainty of decline. But as she sat in the sterile doctor's office, processing this life-altering news, she had no idea that the worst part wasn't the disease itself. It was discovering that her parents had stolen her right to know. The truth unraveled slowly, each revelation more devastating than the last. Huntingtons ran in her family like a deadly river flowing through generations. Her father's mother had suffered from it. Her aunt, her father's sister, had died from it just a few years ago. But Melissa had been living overseas when her aunt passed, and her parents had looked her in the eye and told her it was cancer. Cancer. They had lied with such ease, such conviction, that she never questioned it. Only now, facing her own diagnosis, did they finally confess. The woman she had mourned as a cancer victim had actually died from the same disease now coursing through Melissa's genes. When she confronted her father, demanding to know if he too carried the gene, he became evasive, dodging her desperate questions as if her need to understand her own genetic destiny was somehow unreasonable. Her mother's justification was perhaps even more infuriating. "We didn't want you living in fear," she said, as if ignorance was a gift rather than a curse. But Melissa could have been prepared. She could have made informed decisions about career, relationships, life insurance, medical care. Instead, they had chosen to let her stumble blindly into a genetic minefield. The cruelest twist was her 2-year-old son, sleeping peacefully in his crib, unaware that he might carry the same ticking time bomb in his DNA. Her parents had not only robbed Melissa of her right to know, they had potentially sentenced their grandchild to the same fate. She could have had genetic testing done, could have made informed reproductive choices, could have spared another generation from this hereditary nightmare. But they had stolen that option from her, and now she lay awake at night terrified that she might have unknowingly passed this curse to her innocent child. Then came the moment that shattered any remaining respect she had for her parents. Her mother, perhaps realizing the magnitude of their deception, had the audacity to ask if Melissa would have rather never been born than face this disease. The question hung in the air like poison, turning victim into villain. When Melissa answered honestly yes, she would rather not exist than endure this slow death, her mother's face crumpled with manufactured hurt, as if Melissa's pain was somehow an attack on them, but Melissa refused to back down. They had made a selfish choice, prioritizing their desire for children over the risk of passing on a devastating illness. They had gambled with lives that weren't theirs to risk, and now that the dice had come up against their daughter, they wanted her gratitude for the privilege of suffering. The final betrayal came when they begged her not to tell her younger siblings. Her brother and sister, still unaware of their genetic Russian roulette, deserved to know the truth. But her parents wanted to keep rolling the dice, hoping lightning wouldn't strike twice. They wanted Melissa to become complicit in the same deception that had devastated her own life. The confrontation that followed was explosive and overdue. Melissa gathered her siblings at her sister's house and delivered the truth with surgical precision. "I have Huntington's. It's hereditary. You should both get tested." Her brother, who had just started trying for a baby with his fiancée, went pale with panic and rage. The future he had been planning crumbled in an instant, replaced by the terrifying possibility that he too might be living on borrowed time. Her sister's reaction was more distant, shock rendering her almost catatonic, but she promised to get tested. Both siblings were furious with their parents, finally understanding the magnitude of the deception that had shaped their entire family. Now Melissa maintains minimal contact with her parents, who continue to play the victim, claiming they were just trying to protect her. But she knows the truth: they weren't protecting her, they were protecting themselves from the guilt of their genetic legacy. They wanted her to carry their secret to her grave, literally, while her siblings remained in the same dangerous ignorance that had nearly destroyed her. Despite their anger and guilt-tripping, Melissa feels no regret. Her siblings deserved the truth, and she refused to let them live the lie that had nearly killed her spirit. Sometimes love means telling the hardest truths, even when family wants you to stay silent. What do you think about her parents' decision to hide this information? Was she right to tell her siblings against her parents' wishes? Share your thoughts on family secrets and genetic responsibility in the comments below.